What is up, everyone? I'm Jeff London. This is the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast, talking with Caleb Martin today. Had to figure out a time to get this podcast going because you work nights up on the North Slope. So we'll start right there. How are things up on the North Slope, and thanks for being on here.
They're pretty good. Thanks for having me. Listened to your podcast for a while. Really enjoy it, so I'm glad to be a part of it. Just getting the day started up here. It's actually warmed up quite a bit. It's been pretty cold the last few weeks. I think at one point we hit 97 below with the wind chill. So
wow, yikes! What do you do up there?
I work in pipeline inspection, so we look for the corrosion and damage that grows inside the insulation on a lot of the piping and erosion on the inside of the piping and stuff similar to that. So it's a lot of outside work, and we use a lot of radiation to X-ray the pipes and stuff. So when it gets too cold, we're out in that cold for hours and hours and hours at a time. So it's nice. It's nice. Finally warmed up to a balmy -11 here in the North Slope.
Yikes! So you got is it 6 month off, 6 month on? What's that look like?
Yeah. So it's I'm on a 4-and-4 rotation. I work 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. Just recently started that, but I've been on 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off the last 9 years up here, and it's pretty nice for hunt planning and vacation planning. It's pretty nice. I won't lie. I think that's what keeps a lot of the people here and keeps them staying here full time. Just having the ability to go home, go on vacation for a week and still have 2 weeks off to work on projects or play before coming back to work. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. The biggest thing with any kind of work schedule is getting used to it. And once you do, you can find the ups and focus on those rather than the worst part of it. Like people who really enjoy their jobs have that good attitude and think, hey, it's 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off, or having the summers off in Alaska as a teacher. Doesn't matter what it is. If you have a good attitude, you can make things work.
Oh, definitely. And that's one thing that can affect you up here quite a bit, because in the wintertime, like I've worked nights for the last 9 years. And in the wintertime, you're not getting off and seeing the daylight after work. And sometimes you're not seeing it before work. So there'll be a period of when I come to work, I won't see the sun for 4 weeks straight. And then I won't see it for, 4 or 5 hitches a year. And that could drastically affect people's attitude up here.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely noticed in Southeast Alaska, we get days where you have daylight, but because it's always cloudy and rainy or snowy, you don't see the sun and you don't see that blue sky, so that can really weigh on you. And some buddies in Fairbanks say, I'd rather have it be cold, be below freezing, than never see the sun. But my comparison always is, it depends on what's worse to you. Some people will take no sun and the cold temperatures over traffic, pollution, and nonsense. So it's just really, again, how you get used to where you live, and then if you're able to look at the bright side as much as possible, even if it is dark.
Oh, very much so. I grew up on the Kenai Peninsula. I was born and raised in Alaska down there, and I never considered that I would live in Anchorage, and then here I am, 2019, living in Alaska's largest city, moved to Anchorage. And it took some adjusting. I never thought I would enjoy it. I'm country boy, not in the Alaska sense of the word. Always grew up in the woods, playing in the woods, hunting and fishing, and never thought I'd be enjoying driving in, rush hour traffic at 4 p.m. in Anchorage. So.
Anchorage is beautiful. Well, the surrounding area is beautiful. And so if you get out of the town, everything is pretty close. But, your biggest city in each state, there's a lot of kind of the rural attitude towards it is that it's not really a part of Alaska. Anchorage is Anchorage, and then the rest of Alaska is real Alaska. Same thing with like Seattle. There's Seattle, and then there's Washington. There's Portland, and there's Oregon. But yeah, Anchorage is Anchorage, but it's a pretty good jumping off point for some people. You're pretty close, and like you said, just driving down the Kenai Peninsula area, that's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, it's got great access to some awesome country. I think a lot of people really, Anchorage, it's got a lot of traffic and a lot of people and a lot of politics and there's crime there. Anytime you get large amounts of people in small spaces, you're going to have those issues. But to be able to drive 20 minutes from where I live and be in the Chugach, be in, a remote, insanely beautiful area that's protected, got a ton of wildlife. You can drive down the highway and see Dall sheep, 20, 30 yards above the road sitting there staring at you. We live in a pretty unique area and unique state. We're pretty blessed to have it, so I can't complain too much there.
Yeah. Speaking of complaining, we just got the draw results out yesterday, and just looking online, it's funny to see people who draw stuff and are really excited, and then people who are just so upset, infuriated, thinking there's some sort of conspiracy about why they didn't draw it, or we should go to a point system or something like that. So what was your reaction to the draw? First of all, what'd you get if you got something? And then if you didn't, how do you feel about the system and the reaction to it?
Well, I got pretty blessed again this year. I got a moose tag for the Southern Brooks Range, an archery tag. I've been aiming more on archery tags the last few years. It's just kind of drawn me in. And then I got a Klutna management area grizzly bear, which is basically just the Klutna River Valley for archery grizz. And part of that hunt they put in place to lower the human interactions with bears there. And that's kind of the purpose behind me even applying for it. So, I'm happier than somebody who would probably spend the same amount of money I did and not draw anything. My view on the system, though, is how can you get more fair than putting 10 names in a hat and drawing a name out of the hat? I just don't see. I mean, it's randomized. If you look at the how the system is, everybody's basically assigned a number, right? When you put your name in, if it's a party tag or if 10 people put in for the same tag, their applications put in, assign a number, and then the computer auto-generates a number, and that's the person that gets the tag. I think that's pretty fair. I don't think you can get any fairer than that. A lot of people I talk to that come from states with preference points. I mean, so many people have built up preference points that newer people, I mean, they don't have opportunities to draw a tag for a long time, and they might not even draw it in their lifetime. So I think it's pretty fair the way it is from what I know of the system. I think, a lot of it has to do with your strategy behind the draw. I always go in with it based on statistics. They kind of give you the math there, right? They kind of give you all the available factors about a draw tag, and you still need a little bit of luck. But I think if you kind of base your strategy on math, that it could help drastically. It's helped me anyways. A lot of people are probably really not going to like this comment, but I have drawn every year since I have started putting in for the draw. At least 1 or 2 tags every single year since I started. So, I know a couple guys are probably listening to this and saying, what the heck? They've applied for 30 years, 40 years. A good friend of mine I talked to yesterday, he's applied for 40 years and hasn't drawn a tag. I haven't verified that, but he didn't draw anything this year, and he said it was year 41. But I look at some of the tags that people draw, like some people put in for bison, and they've been putting in for 30 years, and they haven't got drawn, and they're pretty upset about it. But if you look at the draw rate for that tag, I forget what it is last time, but it's like 0.02 or something, or maybe even lower. Like 20,000 people put in for that tag a year, and so if you look at the math on that, it's not really impossible to think that you could put in for that tag 30 times and not draw it. I mean, the odds of that are out of this world, that you have much higher odds of not drawing that tag than drawing it. So what I do, and some of my fellow hunters do is I find I kind of get a list of all the hunts and every animal that I would like to hunt, and find ones with the highest draw odds that I can access and is good in my time frame to hunt. And then I take my maximum chances of 6 and put them all on that one hunt. And that, to me, gives me the highest amount of odds to draw that tag. And that's how I base my tags every year. So people have different strategies. That's what I do, and it's worked out for me. So
Yeah, I think with the preference points or the however it's done, there's going to be people who are going to complain no matter what. And the type of person who complains about this is the type of person who would probably complain if we had a preference point. It's just a matter of being enraged, and that's kind of what they're looking for, just any excuse to be upset. My girlfriend is getting her PhD in Wyoming, and there are people who are accumulating points and have been for so long that it's impossible within your lifetime, like you said, to draw some of these because you didn't start doing it, in the 70s or whenever it was. There's not enough points, there's not enough years in your life left to be able to draw it. And it just prices people out. If you want, you can increase you increase your odds by paying like a full amount or like doubling the amount, which increases the odds, but still doesn't guarantee that you're going to draw it. You can still do. It's just a mess. So just here it is. Everyone has the same amount of choice, but there's always someone who draws like a really good tag twice. And then with that bison hunt, Steve Ranella gets it, and so it just gives, or someone from Fish and Game draws it. And all of a sudden, there's conspiracy theories, and it's broken, and man, it is what it is.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
But how many of these of the hunts that you're going to do? How many of the hunts you're going to do this year are going to be from your draw, and how many are harvest ticket or registration?
So only one of my hunts will be, 2 of my hunts will be draw tag hunts. I hunt every year no matter what. I spend 150 days in the field, and I would be lying to say if at least one of my hunts a year haven't been on draw tags, and that's just because I happen to, draw them, right? But even if I didn't, I mean, some of my best animals I've harvested have been in harvest tag areas, over-the-counter tags, and it just comes from boot miles. We got such an awesome opportunity up here, and I certainly like to get out and hike and spend time outdoors, so I spend a ton of time doing that. But this year, I mean, we're expecting our first child in August this year, so my time's a little bit more limited than it's been in the past. But still, we'll probably make one annual trip later on at the end of moose season up to the Brooks Range and try to get our moose. But I also do a little bit of guiding, so here in April, I'll head down to Kodiak and guide a few bear hunts. But other than that, for the rest of the year, I'll probably get out and take at least 1 or 2 black bears. I'll try to fill that grizzly tag. And while we're up in the Brooks, I'll probably take Kendra, my girlfriend, up there and harvest a couple caribou as well. That sounds like a lot and a lot of animals, but we do hunt a lot, and we only eat solely wild game meat, and we share it a lot with our families. So that's kind of what we do and we're passionate about.
Nice. What are your favorite meat or just favorite animals to eat, and then we can go to recipes in a second. But like your top three, what are they?
Oh, and these have recently changed. So I used to think I hunted a lot of caribou, and the caribou was my bread and butter. That was my favorite. Um, and then seconded by black bear. But recently, being as I got a few lucky draw tags, I got to head down to Nunivak Island and hunt some muskox meat. Man, that stuff is absolutely incredible. I didn't turn any in a burger. Everything we got on that muskox, I went down there for 10 days, hunted by myself solo, and harvested. Not a very big bull, is about a 4-year-old. And man, I ended up flying home about 285 pounds of meat off that thing. And just the amount of fat content inside the meat on that, it's absolutely incredible. That is definitely my new favorite Alaskan meat. Seconded by Sitka blacktail. It's really hard to beat those blacktail. You don't get a lot of meat off those things, but I've eaten everything in Alaska, and I would say that is a strong second. Those two are fighting for first in Alaska right there. My third is definitely elk. Those Roosevelt elk that come off Edelin and Fognac and Raspberry Islands, man, those things, you get a ton of meat off them, and they are absolutely incredible. I've shot 2 bulls down there now, and both of them, the meat is just absolutely great on both those animals. Uh, they they are great meat. I think those 3 animals really stick out. I mean, all the Alaska wild game meat's pretty good, depending on how you take care of it and how you harvest it, how you kill the animal. But those 3 stick out above the rest, I believe. And I'm sure some of my fellow hunters and some of the people that know me are really surprised I'm not saying dull sheep meat, but I think those 3 stick out far, far above the rest.
There are a couple different things that play into that. You want to say that I've never taken a dull sheep. I've been on mountain goat hunts, but those it'd be difficult to say that the meat is just okay if you went through everything that you did to get them. Being on a mountain goat hunt and just being through it's just so awesome, so much fun. So if you came back and like, the meat's okay, you kind of want to. The meat is amazing because it would then match the experience a little bit better. So it's hard to really trust whether or not it's good or not. Kind of like when you're out fishing or you're out hunting or you come back into town or you're stopping on the way back and you get some burger at some place and it tastes unbelievable. But is that because you're super hungry or is that because it's actually really good? So when it comes to the meat and whether or not it's good or not, I don't think it really matters, but I do wonder how much of the taste that I like is because of the experience, and I'm trying to match that rather than being purely objective.
Oh, that's absolutely correct. I've talked about that exact thing a few times, but I think a lot of it plays into how it's taken care of and how it's killed. I think sometimes you can't help it, right? If you're set up on a perfect shot to take an animal, and the animal stands when you pull the trigger or what have you, right? And you don't make an instant kill, and it suffers or runs a little ways, and you got to track it. That's going to play into how your meat's affected. I find the weather conditions will affect how your meat's going to taste. If it's wet and you're having trouble trying to keep the meat dry and get it out of the field, or there's just so many different factors in there. I'm a little OCD when it comes to my meat. I've seen guys, a quarter laying there on the ground as they're butchering, just sitting in the grass and stuff, and I'm really, really particular about it, and that's just because I've been doing it for a long time, and I know in November, I'm going to be looking to eat some of that meat, and I just know what the finished product can be, by investing a good amount of time into it, and what it, positive or negative, how it can turn out. So I geek out on that a little bit, and I think the more time and more effort you invest into keeping that meat clean, and how you kill that animal, and how quickly you recover it and cool it down, will affect that taste quite a bit for sure. But I think we have this kind of persona in the hunting world that, everything has to be about getting meat. Like, people go Dall sheep hunting, I don't think anybody goes Dall sheep hunting just for the meat. We've talked about this on the sheep hunting forum a few times. And because if you're hunting solely for meat, I mean, why you could go hunt a moose, right, and get about 700 pounds of meat. When you go hunt a sheep, you're looking at about 60 pounds to 80 pounds of meat, depending on the size of the sheep and, where you shot it, where it fell, how much damage it did when falling. And I think a lot of people feel that in today's climate, you kind of have to justify your act of hunting by solely eating meat. It's about eating meat or subsistence lifestyle. I mean, that's certainly a part of it. But for me, I mean, I love eating wild game, don't get me wrong. But on a Dall sheep hunt, it's about so much more than that. I mean, this season, looking back on our sheep season, I mean, I seen 2 wolverines. I seen a wildfire start by lightning. I've been camped out in the rocks at 4,000 or 5,000 feet, watching the sun come over the rocks for the first time, drinking that morning cup of coffee. I mean, it sounds a little dreamy there, but that's to me what it's all about. It's seeing 60-inch bull moose feeding on mountainsides, seeing herds of 100 lambs and ewes playing around in the rocks. You don't have to say that. You don't have to feel the need to justify, I guess is what I'm saying, that it's just about meat. The meat's certainly a bonus, but I think when it comes to mountain goat hunting and that, the meat's fine, it's great, but I just think there's so much more than just the meat when it comes to those particular hunts.
Yeah, I think there's also a preferred meat element to this as well. People say they need to increase or do something to help the Sitka blacktail populations because I need deer to feed my family. Well, if you really needed meat to feed the family, you'd have a lot more local people shooting the 2 bears that you can get. If it's about straight meat and about feeding the family, then you'd see more people taking the bears, or you can get 6 pink salmon, or you can get all these other fish too. It's not just the preferred. King salmon is preferred, sockeye salmon is preferred, and then your Sitka blacktail deer. Like, that's the meat that I want. And so people say, well, we want to protect those specific things, but again, if it's really about meat and feeding the family, then why aren't you looking at bears? So I think sometimes, again, that honest, the Dall sheep hunt, the mountain goat hunt, it's absolutely getting on a mountain, and absolutely getting up there, doing that, having the experience, because yeah, it's worth it. And we do find ourselves justifying ourselves, I think, in interesting ways, and just kind of tell like it is. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. It doesn't matter what you say, someone's gonna think that you're ridiculous or crazy. You might as well just at least be true to yourself and tell it like it is.
Oh, exactly, man. I think with social media, and there's so much more media going on with the internet and stuff these days, that people feel that they have to put themselves into a mold and say these certain things and take pictures with their packs or their rifles, plug certain gear and stuff like that. And I just encourage people, and part of the reason I do what I do through my podcast and my business and the Great Alaska Hunting Club page is because just teach people what it's about, what it's really about. Go out there, make some memories, enjoy some time, be real, have fun. Because at the end of the day, you only got so many days on this planet, and that's what it's really all about. Spending time with the family and doing what you love. That's why I do it. If I didn't enjoy hunting, there's no way I'd be, spending 100 miles on my boots and 10 days chasing after critters. I mean, there's just no way I would do that. I would find things that better invest my time in. I think people need to have a realistic look at hunting in general these days and what affects us. I know there's some people with social media that kind of get a little bit big egos that this is Alaska, we hunt and fish. That's all we do here. But, the last few years I've been really diving into becoming more of an advocate for hunting and our way of life up here and looking at the numbers. I mean, only about 15% of Alaskans hunt, so we're really a minority. And people, is like, hey, we shouldn't cater to non-hunters or anti-hunters. And we talk about that a lot in my group. And it's not so much just about catering to people, but also to be able to bring more people into the hunting lifestyle and teach them stuff and how they can harvest their own food and enjoy these things as well. You got to start by seeing things from their perspective and not just posting blood and guts all the time and saying, hey, I don't really care what people think about this. This is what I'm going to do because this is how I live and this is what I want to do. You always have those people, but I think we got to realize as hunters too that we're a minority, and how we present ourselves makes a direct impact on our lifestyle and how we can do it in the long run. And so that I kind of focus on that a lot, and I have been.
One of the reasons I went with the Mediocre Alaskan podcast, just because you have so many people who try to keep up a persona, and it's impossible to do that because there's not going to be enough fish, there's not going to be enough animals, not going to be a big enough animal each year to be able to keep up that sort of supreme, ego stroking, whatever that you're looking for. I grew up reading a lot more Bill Heavey and Patrick McManus, and just that it's okay to laugh at yourself and, hey, tell it like it really is and not pretend to be something that you're not. And you can go online and you can, say the right thing, post the right thing, and, share, try to get sponsorships or try to be an ambassador or something like that. But if it's really that's what it's about, then there's not going to be enough gear that's going to fill that void of, are you really having any sort of fun? But it is interesting to see how huge hunting is in Alaska as far as a marketable thing, but then how few people, like you said, do it. A nice thing about it is that we have so many other things to do that you don't have this idea that hunting is obsolete, that hunting is, toxically masculine or whatever. In some other states down south, it's, hunting was the old ways. Now, the urban lifestyle is saying that that's what we used to do. Now we don't have to. And, Alaska, we kind of get it. So people who don't hunt, they might kayak, they might paddleboard, they're doing things that are productive and they're enjoying the outdoors. And so it's less you versus me, where you're still using the outdoors, but in different ways. And that makes it so nice because you don't have an us against them like you do in some other states. You have people who are happy and who are living quality lives, and they get it. They understand the allure, the pull, and so you don't have as much of a conflict between groups.
Oh, definitely, and I think you're always going to have that conflict on both sides. There's going to be people that think hunting is absolutely evil, and we're not going to change their minds. I mean, people are dead set in their ways, and there's other people on the other side of the fence. I see it all the time on the social media groups that they're dead set on hunting is you got to hunt my way or the highway. We don't care what people think. We're not going to cater or change anybody. But that's, I just feel there's so many people, and I hear it daily and get questions all the time, where there's so many people that would like to get into hunting and to open that door and learn to live this lifestyle and get into it. But one, they don't know where to start. It's a huge undertaking. Imagine if you grew up in, New York City, never been in the woods before, and you move to Alaska and you see these people doing these awesome things in this awesome country, and you really want to go into it. That's a big change for you. Huge. And so, I get people on our social media group all the time asking, simple questions. But you got these persona that is just turned into, these big egos that will just jump on them for asking these simple, basic questions like they should already know. Like there's a lot of assumptions that, everybody has this base knowledge, which is untrue. Talking I get messages all the time from new hunters that want to ask questions, but won't do it on the social media anymore because they just get jumped on and attacked for asking these simple questions when we should be encouraging these people, teaching them. That's the future of hunting, the future of our way of life is the way I see it. So encouraging people to get outdoors, teaching them how to do it ethically and safely so they could fill their freezer. And, when it comes time to seeing, some crazy strict bills, trying to get passed or new laws getting passed, those people are going to be on your side. They're they're going to see through that. They're going to see how hunting really is. They're going to get a realistic picture of it, of both sides, and make an educated decision rather than a lot of the management you see in National Park Service these days is based on emotion, where they'll shut down hunting and drastically reduce hunting opportunities because it's not a popular opinion to manage game by hunting anymore, which it's pretty sad, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate how people, they feel compelled to have an emotional response. The best way to, well, it might be more important how you live out your perspective than what it is that you believe, how you live it out and how you portray that. Because if someone is looking for the stereotypical hunter who's a jerk who's going to post bacon on the profile of a vegan, like that's what they expect. And so if you're the hunter that can reason with people and respect the animal in like a real way, not the
manufactured.
Somebody, where it's like, oh, this is me, and we're touching heads with the caribou. Some people do that, and some people have reverence and they have so much respect for the animal. But then you have other people who are doing it theatrically, and it just loses and it just feels kind of weird, kind of greasy. But how you represent your beliefs is so important, and it does us no good, again, as a smaller group of people, to feel entitled to fight back or to not take this anymore. Like it or not, we have to live the lifestyle in a way that other people are going to say, oh, well, I thought you guys were a whole bunch of disrespectful, mean, whatever, insecure murderers, but now you're a person. And, oh, I kind of see your side. I might still not hunt, but I at least get your side. I'm going to actually at least listen to you because you're reasonable. And then they'll listen, hopefully. Some people aren't going to listen to it. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
They've made up their mind. It doesn't matter how reasonable you are. But there's those people in the middle who, you're seeing the same thing with like the election. Just how could anybody do this? Well, man, there's a lot of people in the middle who, depending on who they interact with, that then changes their mind. It's not all far left, far right. It's in that middle. And, okay, I'll vote for this person because the person I met on this side was reasonable. And that's what we need to do.
Oh, exactly. And I think that is kind of the mindset we need to encourage for both sides, hunting and non-hunting, and to continue to be able to live this way of life long term. I mean, the way society is going, there's a growing feeling that, like you said, hunters are just jerks out to put a mount on the wall, shoot something to brag about it. People, and then the hunting crowd will hear that and be like, oh, well, these people are just, far left liberals, don't know what they're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And it just gets super nasty conversation. But if we just take a minute and think about it from both perspectives, think about somebody in New Jersey that's never been in the woods, never hunted, or where have you, lives in an urban city, and grew up, going to school, shopping at the grocery store, looking at pictures of beautiful animals and wild parks and awesome places. They're going to think, man, why would somebody go up and shoot that thing? It's such an amazing, beautiful creature. And it's not because, they hate hunters. Nobody's automatically programmed to dislike somebody, but their perspective, that's the way they grew up, that's where they come from. They can't relate to us as Alaskans that spend time growing up in the outdoors looking at a moose and thinking, hey, that's a beautiful animal, but that animal can also feed my family for the entire winter, And then, the hunter from Alaska that's grew up in the outdoors, he's gonna be the same way. He's not gonna know all the ins and outs of what it's like growing up in a major urban city on the East Coast. I have no idea. So, yeah, they just need to take a little time and look at it from other people's perspective and see how what you do is going to affect our way of life.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird thing. I've thought about this more in the last couple of years. The whole idea of putting a head on the wall. Someone who doesn't have a frame of reference is going to think it's like crazy Lord of the Flies, cutting the pig's head off and putting it on a stake and worshiping the beastie. Whereas that's not the, well, I guess for some people it probably is, but you don't just cut the head off and put it on the wall. There's taxidermy involved, and the antlers, they would just be just out in the woods, sitting there, decaying, being chewed up, being essentially wasted. So it does sound kind of weird. It is kind of weird to look around in your room. I can understand how someone can feel that it's uncomfortable, but, each one of those things is a memory. And those, you look at the antlers, you look at the horns, you look at the whatever, and it's a cool thing to have and remember, and it's part of not wasting the animal to have that memory in a room.
Yeah, I think that is the way I look at mounts is they are it's kind of giving more respect to the animal to me than to bragging rights. Really, the people come over, look at them. We talk about the hunts, what we went through. Passing on those stories. It gives an opportunity to share, our way of life with other people that might not experience it, but also, some people look at taxidermy, and they might not ever have seen a bear that close or be able to look at different parts of an animal like that. To me, it's very little about look what I did, and more so, this incredible animal lived and breathed and had a life, and it grew this large and had a story behind it, and there's a whole management aspect of it. It just gives you an opportunity to share so much more than look what I did, look at this animal I shot. There's just so much more to it than that. When people come over, if you come and look in my living room, you'll see a couple elk, a couple black bear hanging there, 4 or 5 mountain goats, and every time people come over, I haven't had a single person, everybody's like, oh man, having dead stuff hanging around your living room, that's so creepy. But I've been able to share a lot of stories with people that are non-hunters, and a lot of my girlfriend's friends that have come over, they know nothing about hunting, very limited, just what they've seen on TV. And it's been really fun being able to share that personal insight with them and show them a little bit about what we do. So I enjoy it. It's certainly nothing to me about just bragging about what's on the walls. After you move 4 or 5 times, you definitely get a different perspective on having to move all those mounts too. It's that bragging amount of it goes down pretty drastically.
Yeah, and I think that ethic is part of the sport a lot more than maybe people think, or maybe compared to the past. But it does, most of the content that's being published out there has that some sort of underlying ethic and reverence for the animal. Some of the older shows that used to be on TV just kind of like, that's kind of gross, just different. So it seems like it's been more of the way it's portrayed is different in the industry now, and that's pretty nice. But I know you got work coming up in a little bit, so do you have some closing thoughts, and where can people find you and your website and all that?
Yeah. Just some closing thoughts. Man, even if you draw, good luck. Put your time in. Go get some boots on the ground. That's the biggest thing about being successful to me, is doing your research and giving yourself ample amount of time. If you didn't draw, we have the best opportunity out of any resident of any state in the country to go out and fill the freezer. So don't get too discouraged, because, you can go to some areas, get 3 black bear, 4 or 5 deer, 2 caribou, a moose, Dall sheep. Just do some research, put in your time, and remember what you're doing it for while you're there. If you want to find some more content from me, you can check out explorealaska.org. We do a little bit about hunting, hiking, not some recipes, just a pretty general idea on how you can explore Alaska with a little bit of gear. Or you can check out our podcast, the Alaska Outdoors Podcast. We'll have some more episodes up soon. And if you just want to BS about hunting, get on our Facebook group, the Great Alaska Hunting Club, and we're more than happy to answer questions and help people get outside.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.